And we have. Oh man, we got Pedro Strop coming in.
Pedro Strop
What's
is
up,
coming
Pedro?
up.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, give it up for Pedro Strop. Come on.
Yeah.
This is the guy with the most holds in the history of the Cubs organization, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you see what we just did, Danny? We just put our rings together. Did you see that?
Oh God. Oh God. See, now here's one of the key differences between Pedro Strop's World Series ring and Mark Grote's World Series ring. Pedro, you earned yours.
He doesn't think I was a broadcaster on that team. He thinks I didn't earn the ring, Pedro.
We did it for you. We did it for you guys.
Yeah, you did it for all of us.
I mean, you don't think it's a little funny when a guy like that wears a World Series ring? You don't think that's a little funny?
I mean, it could be funny, but also I feel really glad because I just said it. We did it for all.
Yeah,
for, fans,
for all
for
the
them,
fans
everybody.
here. Yes.
Yeah, see, there's a fan right there rocking a
Yes,
fan
sir. See?
World Series
That's what I'm talking
ring.
about.
Yeah. How crazy is this, man, to be back and all the Cubs fans? They love you. You are a fan favorite.
Yeah, man. I feel so glad that the Cubs invited me to this type of stuff, which I really liked it a lot when I played for the Cubs. And like I said, I'm Cubs forever. And when they asked me if I want to do this, I said, of course. It's always a pleasure to come over to Chicago and interact with the fans and everybody, see faces that we haven't seen in a long time. So I'm so happy to be here.
Pedro, first of all, you smell great. You smell like $1 million.
You weirdo.
Yeah, no, it's just very noticeable. You smell great as you sat down, and so I just wanted you to know that whatever it is, it's working for you. Is it a little bit strange, though, to have come to these things as a player and having us ask you about expectations and what happened last year, and now here you are, you get to just be Pedro Strop and be totally relaxed? Is that a little bit strange to be on this side of it? You're a fan right now, right?
It feels weird. I gotta be honest, because I want to be in the same place where you guys ask me about the expectation instead of be here as a fan. But if I have to be a fan, I'm gonna be a good fan. So
You are.
Are you officially retired? Have we conceded? Have we conceded that baseball is behind us?
that's a good question. I'm not retired.
There it is. We have a big announcement.
I pitch in Dominican winter ball, and I feel like I can get people out still, and I still got a lot in the tank, and I'm chasing for opportunity to get back in the mound. Hopefully it's here. If not in here, so maybe somewhere else, but I prefer the Cubs.
Well, wait. I mean, we're gonna have Jed up here in a minute or two. David Ross is gonna come by. Just tell him you want a job.
I mean, you tell them. Hopefully,
We will. We got you, man.
hopefully they're watching this interview, and
Now I know why you smell so good. I understand.
Trying to impress.
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something that they can just maybe bring me to spring training and compete. I'm not asking for more. Compete, and then if you see I can help, so just give me a chance.
So Pedro Strop with us, Parkins Spiegel on the score with Mark Grote in for Spiegs. So my normal co-host, who's not here today, he actually just got back from a trip to the Dominican Republic, and he is obsessed with baseball. And he went to a game. He saw an Águilas game, I believe. He went. Your eyes lit up, okay? And he was blown away. He said it was amazing. The atmosphere was incredible, and I wonder. You know, they're cheering, there's music, it's loud. It sounded like it was so fun. How do we get the atmosphere of baseball in the Dominican Republic? How do we get that to the major leagues? How do we make that happen?
Man, I gotta explain this because I remember in 2013 when Dominican, I was part of the team when we won the World Baseball Classic. A lot of people were saying a lot of the way we were jumping over in the dugout, jumping over it, getting in the fields, giving high fives like crazy. So people that don't know our culture, the way we grew up playing baseball, was seeing this as a negative stuff. But I was playing like, listen, that's the way we learn the game. And we came to the United States and played the game here. Now we learned that, okay, you're not doing it that way. We're doing it in the way it's supposed to be, respectful. But we were playing for Dominican at that time, so we gotta be Dominican. So I think this is the same thing in the Águilas, and especially when they play Águilas and Licey.
Yeah.
So it's just like when you see a game, Chicago Cubs against the Cardinals. The same thing, like the adrenaline, everybody just like pumped up, everybody just cheering to their team. So it's really fun. Dominican is loud.
It is like, and when I watch international baseball, it just seems more fun. Like like even then, Cubs Cardinals, and I'm a Cubs fan, born north side of Chicago. Cubs my favorite team, but like, you guys just do it better. It is just more fun. And I feel like if we injected, music and bands and chants like you see in soccer or whatever, I feel like big league baseball players would adjust. Or do you think that baseball in America is too, I don't know, conservative or stuffy? Or do you think it could work?
Yeah, like I see the MLB just trying to make the game quicker. Which I think it should be a different way. Just maybe spend more time putting some more shows like the basketball games. They put shows during the games, like in the timeouts.
Oh, I see. So more entertainment during the stoppages.
Exactly, more entertainment for the fans, because it's all about the fans. We're playing for them. So I think they should do more stuff like that. Maybe a band during an inning, something. Just create something.
Do you? I'm guessing you don't like the pitch clock then. What do you think?
No, I don't like the pitch clock, especially for like relievers. We gotta take our time, especially when thing is not going on your way. You gotta walk around, breathe, try to get your tempo, try to get your rhythm again. So now with the pitch clock, everything just quick.
So that time to kind of regenerate yourself, that when you're walking around, like that really is crucial. So. Are there going to be relievers that are going to fail this year because of that? I mean,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
To be honest, like I'm not about. They're changing the game. I mean, there's too much. Let's just play the game the way we grew up watching it, and we grow up playing it. Like I think they're putting too much stuff, but I mean, it is what it is. Also, we got to adjust to the new generations and. If we have to adjust, we're going to do it also, but I think they're doing too much.
Pedro, when I knew you were coming on, and I was looking up the numbers, and it's like, okay, you have the most holds of any Cubs reliever ever, and the 6th most appearances of any Cub as a relief pitcher. How did you stay so consistent? What was the key? Because most relief pitchers, they maybe had more saves, or maybe they had a better number than you, but they would not be. Then they would fall off, and they maybe were better for a year or two, but then in years 3, 4, and 5, they were bad. How were you so consistent for so long?
Yeah, man, I remember that my first couple of years in the big league, I was really inconsistent. It was like up and down, up and down. I couldn't be the same guy that I was in AAA. I couldn't be the same guy in the big league. And then I remember playing against the Yankees as Mariano Rivera. And one time I was like, hey, I asked the same question that you just asked me. Like, how can you be that so consistent? Like, what you do? And he told me, man, you just need to work on a routine that works for you. I'm not going to tell you to do my routine because mine works for me. So you better find yours. And then I start building up my routine to a point that it was a day that I didn't execute my routine, and I went to the mound literally shaking, because I felt that I didn't make my routine. So I think that routine made consistency.
What an unbelievable guy to get advice from.
I'm gonna say the best.
The best ever.
The best ever.
I remember one of my favorite Pedro Strop's moments was, I believe, in 2016. Joe Madden was using the heck out of you, and he kept telling us, the media, every day, I got to get Pedro a day off. I got to get Pedro a day off. I promise. And then he wouldn't. He's like, and then finally, you show up at your locker, and there's a little swimming pool with sand in it, and like some Bahama. Do you remember that? And what was it like playing for Joe Madden?
Yeah, man. I remember that day like right now. It was like 2 days in a row. I came to the field feeling like, okay, maybe I'm getting a day off today. And then Joe just asked me, hey, man, I think I need you tonight.
Yeah.
You think you could be available? I was like, guess what? Yes, I'll do it. So next day I came up again, like, that's definitely 2 days off. I came to the field, I was like, how do you feel? I was like, I'm a little sore. You think you can pitch? Yes. So I went in there, I think, four days in a row.
I remember.
And then that 5th day, I came in the field and said, listen, Joe, don't even ask me. I'm not going to pitch.
That's amazing.
But then I walked to my locker and I saw
There's a little kiddie pool.
Yeah, I saw a couple of Presidentes. And he was like, hey, don't even put your spikes on. Just tennis shoes and enjoy your day off. So I was funny. Joe was a fun guy to play with. He'll do weird stuff that usually like, what is he doing? Then
why is there an animal on it? Why is there a lamb?
Somehow works for him, but he was really fun, really positive and everything, and I really liked the play for him.
Give Pedro Strop a round of applause, everybody.
Yeah.
One of the best relief pitchers we've seen in recent Cubs history. Pedro, thank you so much for coming out, man. We appreciate you coming on the show. So Tom Ricketts is on the station this morning, and I always say it's like he'll set the tone, and he's like, we're going to win. The goal is to win the division. It's fun to come into a thing like this with expectations. I know you're going to answer this question a million times, but you have always been cool with having expectations, right? And you guys are a product of what you guys did from 2015 to 19.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want, right? Ultimately, you want people that come to the ballpark every night thinking you're going to win. You want those expectations. I always say that the most fun summers I've ever had were 03 and 15 because you sort of had lower expectations. We won, tons of games, went to the CS in both years. But I do think every year you go into the season, you want to have expectations of winning. There are building processes in these jobs. We know that. But let's face it, when we're in those processes, that's the part of that you miss. You miss that competition every night. You miss going into the season with high expectations. And I'm excited. I'm excited by the season. I'm excited that everyone in these rooms are excited about it.
I thought he was pretty candid. He was like, our best path to the playoffs might be the division. There's a lot of really good teams in the NL East. Like, you guys you can't shy away from reality.
No, I mean, the National League, it's, the money, a lot of the money spent this winter has been in the National League. And, you got, 3 teams with some pretty big payrolls, pretty good teams in the East, and, 2 really, aggressive teams in the West. And, you mean, that's reality, right? I always think that you want to have optimism. Optimism's great, but you have to be a realist as well and look at, look at projections and look at where you are. And I think that's important. But all that said, I think that, the group that we put together, I think we're going to compete. I think that, I'm excited about the way we finished, and I'm excited the way the offseason's gone.
You mentioned 2015, and that was a terrific year of just discovering what the organization could be. Is it possible that this year you could go into it looking like that, where you're not necessarily expecting? I don't think you guys expected to go to the NLCS in 2015, but guys kept coming up from the minors, and they kept on producing. Is there that wild card in your back pocket this year that some of the young guys who we talk about, and maybe that we don't even talk about, could make a difference on the Major League roster this year?
That's what you hope. I mean, I do think the difference between 15 and this year is that 15 we knew, like, those guys were kind of like at the border, so to speak, and we knew that. I think the difference is this year we probably have to be surprised by a few of those things a little more. But listen, John Lester has told the story a million times. Like, when we met with John Lester to sell him on coming here, it was, hey, I think we'll be a solid, just over 500 team this year, and 16 and beyond, we're going to take off. We didn't expect to win 97 that year. I mean, when Miguel Montero started the "We Are Good" thing, we were almost surprised.
My favorite Cubs slogan of my life, by the way.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome.
It was incredible.
Organic.
It was organic, and for the pessimistic Cubs fan, it was so reassuring.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, damn, okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
Great.
and in my experience, all those movements, so to speak, they all are player driven.
Yeah.
Right? That like, he was like, no, we're a good team. Like, let's not shy away from the fact that we're a good team.
Yeah, and this offseason, you give out nearly $300 million in outlay, guaranteed contracts, and all of that. And with that comes the expectation that we just talked about. Tom also said that Dansby was the top shortstop target all along. Is that true?
Well, I mean, listen, we talked about, we went and we met with 3 of the 4. Clearly, there was a great class, and I mean, honestly, every one of those guys would have made us a better team. I think when we looked at the class and thought about, where we're going in the future, what we want to create, it was really clear that he was the right fit, the right guy. But that's not taking anything away from those guys as players. I mean, certainly they're great players, but we sort of felt like he was the exact right fit. We loved the leadership. We knew he had a real desire to be here and to lead a young movement, I think, so to speak, and that was really appealing.
So you mentioned the money that's being spent. The Correa thing is weird, and I know he's on another team. Did it come down into a point where you considered it ever? Like, the guy signed like $900 million worth of contracts in 10 days. Did it ever come down to a point that you considered re-engaging?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say this, like, did I reach out and make the phone call? Yes. I wouldn't discuss what we talked about,
sure.
But yeah, what a weird situation. I don't think we'll ever see something like that again, where 3 different teams, each of them a surprise in their own right, and I don't think we'll see that again. I hope we don't see it again. And one of the weird things for us in these processes is that when you're talking about medical information, all the HIPAA regulations, the team is really, I would say stuck, but you can't really comment. So in a way, the amount of misinformation that happens during these processes or lack of information causes a lot of rumors. And so I think that when these things happen involving medical stuff, it's really awkward for everybody.
That makes sense. We're talking to Jed Hoyer, Parkins and Spiegel here on The Score. So the team seems built to be a very good defensive team. You've got a ton of depth at pitching. The organization seems very healthy with prospect rankings and pitching infrastructure and development. Is there enough high-end talent, superstar talent, power talent?
I mean, listen, I think that's a valid question. Do we have enough power? I think that's a question. I think, is there, you talk about stars, and I think that sometimes you need, stars to emerge, and, some players you don't expect that can end up having 4, 5, 6 win seasons.
Yeah.
But no, I think we have a lot of really good players. I think we're going to play really good defense. I think we'll be fundamentally very sound, run the bases well. But yeah, I understand that concern. And kind of going back to the 15 comment, I think that there was a sense in 15 that we had, guys who were about to be stars on the horizon, and I think we have to develop those guys.
Well, you've got guys that you hope to emerge, and then maybe guys to re-emerge, like Cody Bellinger, because we know exactly what he's like when he's on. Jamison Tyone, for the matter. How important are those guys to the roster and maybe getting them back to where they once were?
Yeah. I mean, so on that note, we always talk about when you look at teams that win, inevitably, players have career years. I mean, that's just a fact, right? Like, no team surprises or no team wins 95 games and a bunch of guys have like their 50th percentile outcome. Like, you have to have guys that exceed. I mean, I'll use the Cardinals as an example. Like, Goldschmidt and Arenado are great players, but even last year they had like their best seasons.
Right.
And so I do think that it's important to think about that. Like, if we're gonna be good, we're gonna need some players to do things they haven't done. I think Bellinger's case, you hope he does what he did, right?
Yeah.
And certainly having those guys, emerge or reemerge is really important.
Given how many arms it seems like you guys have, how unconventional are you prepared to be?
Yeah, Rossi and I talked about it this morning for a while. I thought the end of the season was really good for him in a way where he had to mix and match it. I mean, we traded a bunch of relievers at the deadline, and we actually had a good bullpen in the second half. But he was forced to do things differently. Like, he didn't have just like turn it over to Kimbrel in the ninth, turn it over to Robertson in the ninth. He had to mix and match.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I think having to think through those matchups and think about different ways to use guys. And I'm not sure we're going to have a conventional bullpen. So I think being able to think unconventionally with a lot of really good arms but it's not the normal setup.
So, like, what does that mean for a fan that would want to kind of not know, like, strategy, but, like, are you talking openers? Are you talking 6-man rotation? Are you talking bullpen games every now and then? Like, what does that mean?
I think probably mostly talking like multi-inning relievers.
Multi-inning relievers.
You know, I think that's probably more likely. I think that, who knows, we could think about doing things like openers or things like that, but ultimately, the way I've kind of thought about it is we have a lot of multi-inning weapons.
Okay.
And I think we can use them in that way. And I mean, last year we forget, like we were still at 14 pitchers for a lot of the year. It's going to be 13 and 13 this year, which is going to force some of that, right?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Speaking of Rossi, what happens in the office when the list comes out and he's the 4th handsomest manager in baseball?
I told him he was overrated.
Told him he's overrated. Yeah. Well, and is there a GM list?
Yeah.
Or a president list?
So in my younger days, I did pretty well in that, and like I'm terrified for that list to come out now because I've definitely gotten passed in the rankings. So it's that's going to be humbling.
Were you ahead of Theo back then? Who was considered the better looking executive?
Did you just say of course?
Yeah.
No, that makes
I actually
sense.
think the silver gray hair looks good on you. Not everybody wears it well, and executives look good with the gray hair. So.
The 4th handsomest manager in all of Major League Baseball.
Oh man, I don't know who was putting that list together.
I don't either.
Yeah, I definitely went out to the coaching staff to make sure they knew where I was placed. You know.
Well, I just had Jed on, and he said he told you that you were overrated.
Well, that's fine. That's the story of my life. It's all right. It's all right. It's about proving people wrong anyway. So. You know, happy for Buck. You know, I think the silver in the hair and the beard must have played through a little bit. Rob Thompson, a little bit older. Troy Lavello starting to get some gray in there. He's a handsome man, you know. And
you know the 3 that are ahead of you.
Yeah, well, I analyzed it really quick. I was just happy I beat Tito. Tito's 5, so he's been around a long time. Another no hair guy with a great reputation. So yeah, I don't know what that means, but whatever. It's good fun and. All my coaching staff can give me a hard time, so I was the front office.
Yeah, and now you've got bragging rights over 26 other guys.
I'd rather have that in the win column.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's the goal starting this year, right? The goal seems to be Tom Ricketts. He came on the station this morning and he was like, yeah, the expectation is the playoffs in the division. And just from talking to Cubs fans as I was walking around earlier, it hasn't been that long since there's been an opening day with expectations, but I assume you're a competitive guy. You can't wait for there to be expectations from day one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we had 2020 when I first took this job.
Yep.
There was just tons of expectations from a group that it was proven. And
that was just a weird year, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That was, I don't even know how to describe 2020, to be honest with you, but I think when things started and when we opened in spring training in 2020, though, the expectations, we had the Bryants, the Rizzos, the Schwarbers. I mean, we had the Lesters, the Horses, and, it's nice to have that. It's nice to have an energy, a sense of determination, the way these guys are working already, the reports you get, the things you hear, seeing these guys at this convention is always fun. If not, you don't get to connect with them. So just talking, seeing them face-to-face, asking about their off-season, starting to go through just how spring training is going to look, all the fun stuff that we talk about when things get going. But it's really nice to be here, and I think everybody's starting to get really excited about the season.
So what are your expectations?
I'm probably the guy that doesn't put a lot of expectations. My vision is to get in and work and get better every single day. My expectation is we're going to compete in a lot of areas this year. I think we're going to be really good with pitching and defense. I think we're going to be sneaky, a better ball club offensively than people are giving us credit for already. I think there's still pieces to be had that we'll still add to the roster, and guys are taking a step forward, guys that are getting healthy, names that aren't mentioned that are coming and are going to help us throughout this season is really promising, especially when we start to see some of these faces around here.
Can you give me a name or two that people like me are not mentioning that you're like, you know what,
I mean,
I'm optimistic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Adbert Azalea is talked about enough. I don't know if Cody Hoyer is mentioned much. I don't know if Brendan Davis and some of the minor league farm system, these guys that are coming that you see and I get reports on, and they still have to continue to move forward, but there is a world in which some guys take step forwards that really help our ball club this year that are younger and not on the radar. And that happened last year. Uzi Cub steps on the scene and was dominant for us and
right.
really important piece. So, like, that guy's in our organization. We just don't know who he is. Or maybe two of those guys are in our organization. We don't know. Christopher Morel was not on the map last year, and look what he was able to do. So, couple that, the young guys are coming with veteran leadership. The Hosmer stuff pickup is great. Cody Bellinger's working his tail off. I mean, there's rings all over the place. Obviously, Dansby gets a lot of love and what he's going to bring, the leadership. But there's Gold Gloves, there's rings, there's championship caliber veterans, and we call Dansby a veteran. He's not even 30. So we get that those group of guys that are going to influence this young guy coming up. Nico's going to take a step forward. I think Seiya's going to be better. Just a lot to look forward to.
David Ross with us here on The Score. You said the offense is going to be better than people expect, because it's true. You look at the organization, it's pretty easy to see the pitching depth. That's pretty obvious. It's pretty easy to see the very high ceiling defensively. You guys were 17th in homers last year, but there wasn't a ton of obvious power added. So, and I know there's other ways to score than hitting home runs, but it is the easiest way.
Yeah.
So what gives you, I know you just mentioned some guys, but maybe more specifically or granularly, like, why do you think the offense will be better than people like me are maybe looking at it on paper?
I think it's deeper. I think it's deeper, right? The length in which, like, when you're batting, when Patrick Wisdom's trying to carry you in the 4-hole, I don't know how deep you're going to be, but when he starts pushing down, if things map out and he's down towards the bottom of the lineup, I compare him a lot to like an Adam Duvall, who's got real thump and a good defensive player.
Yep.
I think there's more depth there than people are giving it credit for. We've got quality at bat after quality at bat after quality at bat, in my opinion. If guys get back to what they do best. I think Ian Happ was probably one of our more consistent players last year. That hasn't been the case for him in the past. He's proven some things for us and will fit towards the top of that lineup. Cody, obviously. I think Seiya went through a transition period in the middle of the season last year, dealing with some injuries, but also dealing with
cultural adjustment.
Cultural, like time, all the stuff that goes into Major League Baseball and time zone changes and travel and, not a lot of days off like they have in Japan, but also just getting to know the league. The more he got to know the league, the way they pitched him, the better he was.
So when you talk about all of that and there's expectations and the team should be better, that gets people very excited. And then I think about the team and how your job is maybe going to change. You guys have a lot of pitchers. And I was just talking to Jed, you got a lot of multi-inning guys. And there is a relationship nowadays between your job and the front office, and you guys all work together. How unconventional is your job going to be, given the sheer volume of quality arms you have to work with?
Well, I think for the first time since I've been here, even as a player, there's more depth like you mentioned already, in the pitching department. So you're going to have guys in AAA waiting for their opportunity for either a guy that needs a break or somebody gets banged up or some things things don't go somebody's way. You're going to have somebody to go to. We didn't have that last year, and it showed really early with all the injuries we had with Smiley and Schro and Wade, all those guys getting banged up. So being able to have somebody waiting down there and pitching and working still on their craft, but if something goes wrong, we'll have that. I think as far as the bullpen goes, I don't think we're still finished in that area, but it will be a little unconventional. But I think every year we've adjusted. Like when one of my first years when Kimbrel kind of got off track, and we went to JJ, and he ended up closing out some games with us while Craig worked back. And Keegan Thompson was a huge piece for us last year in bridging the gap and giving us a reset on some of those guys we would use for 4 days, and we could just let him go 2 to 3 innings and even close out games. It's going to be different. I remember looking into, you look back at the end of last year, and Mark Leiter got 3 saves for us because of how we ended up mapping things out. He's 91 with the splits. It's not overpowering stuff, but we got there with some unconventional ways, and we get to the 9th, and he closes it out for 3 W's for us. So I think you look at the roster when you get it and who's pitching well, and you constantly adjust that and what's working. We may bridge it sometimes in multiple innings, or we may not. It's just about who's available, who's sore. It's a very much day-to-day. It's a day-to-day kind of piece puzzle we put together.
Well, Rossi, thank you so much for coming by. You got a huge crowd here looking at you. It's a big, fun weekend, Cubs convention. We'll be talking to you, I'm sure, all season on the score, and looking forward to seeing you in Arizona.
I look forward to it.
And wait, by the way, one last thing. What do you think about Spiegs not showing up today, Matt? What do you think about that?
It's absolute garbage.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Right?
You post. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. If I have the sniffles, I don't get a day off.
That's exactly right. All right, you got to go, but we had to get that in. Thank you. That's David Ross. You got to go.